PM. Roll call, please.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes.
Mrs. Gould? Here. Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we'll have the administrative report from Beth Lance.
Miles?
Yes.
I just want to highlight a few things from Beth's report regarding technology. Just want to let you know, Bill and Chris, our IT guys, have been working basically from like 9 to 6. And so servicing our families whenever they need Chromebook help or things. So they've been a tremendous help with that. We do have access to Wi-Fi out of 4 rural areas. In that report is Roxford Church, Rush Church, Pleasant Grove Methodist Church, and also Newport Methodist Church. And I really want to appreciate those churches for giving us the lot space and also allowing us to plug in. When we first started that, they were draining our batteries on the buses. We thought we could start them once a day. So then we got solar panels on some to try to help. Eventually we were able to plug in. So I really appreciate the community churches helping us in that aspect. Custodial staff has a good jump on cleaning, but I really want to go out and thank our bus drivers, cooks, and aides for kind of a different job role during the pandemic. You know, being able to move and willingly move to those areas, and it's, as their union president said the other day, they saw a different light of the summertime. You know, and he said we get a greater appreciation for each other by doing this. So it's teamwork and coming together as Claymont, as he said. But you know, I'm around the buildings; they're working hard, and we have good employees stepping in to do that. Maintenance is going around, taking a look at floors and replacing those. As I was driving up to the high school, I know our maintenance staff is going to they've done some trenching out around the ball fields, and they're going to do some little more trenching right there at the edge of the parking lot. As you might remember, when the buildings were built, those trees weren't there. So they're going to try to trench out a little bit to kind of get some water drainage and kind of make it look a little bit better, because that is, you know, pretty swampy. But further the not the marsh, but whatever wetlands, the further it comes out, the more it'll take over. So we're going to keep on top of that. The high school roof, the engineering drawings are complete. Right now we'll be waiting for now that the levy had passed, we'll be waiting on getting the money to move forward with a roof for out here. So that's our next step. And then the stadium project, it has been surveyed, and now we're going to wait on that to move forward with anything regarding that for drawings and those things that need to be done. But I just want to go back and reiterate our employees for our OPSI side, just working hard and doing what's best for our school.
Any questions in regards to the report?
You think the money, are you referring to getting the loan?
Yes.
What do we have to do to go about that?
We have a meeting set up Wednesday via Zoom tomorrow. I thought it was Wednesday. Okay, tomorrow at 11 to start working on that process. So I don't, you have more. I have the wrong date, so you fill in.
No,
Well, we're just supposed to be meeting with the Mike Burns from Baird and
Weekly.
Ed Beza. He's the one that
I don't remember what we did, if we were talking adjustable rate or fixed rate.
He's the one, Mike will be the one that will go out and help find us the financing.
Okay.
And the paperwork he had showed to us, I took it as it was a fixed rate.
This will be lower now.
Yes, considerably.
We might be able to borrow more.
Yes, I know we had a couple different options as far as borrowing. I don't really want to do this one, but we could make it more than what our initial payment would be. So we could have two options. One would be an in and an out. So we have what our permanent improvement money is from the levy that just passed. They would just go in and just pay that bill. Or we could go borrow more and then still have to pay almost $75,000 in addition to that, which I don't think that's good fiscally for us to do to get that different amount. It's basically $1 million or more.
What his reasoning was, but I do remember it made more sense to do one loan instead of getting something going back.
Correct.
He had a very valid reason, but I can't remember what it was. I'm sure we'll get into it again.
But it was
275 is what he's saying, like break even would be.
Yeah.
7,275,000.
Yeah, we were around 7 and that should, we have some projects we're talking about heating and cooling and those things that bodes well. So you could do the roof, stadium project and heating and cooling for buildings and get onto that cycle on those things as we need to repair. So
That's great.
So that's kind of our plan. So, but now you got me worried what day it is.
Any other questions before we move on? Okay, we'll go on to Heather. You're up.
Hello, I have to do an annual IDEA funding meeting. So I gave you guys a handout and just want to talk through that for a minute, where our money goes from, where to, and what we pay for with our money, our funding from IDEA. And so for the fiscal year of 2020, we had $535,016.67. And amount and budget for special ed staff, we employ 5 intervention specialists and 3 paraprofessionals out of that, along with the salaries equaling $311,000 and fringe benefits $163,000. The district spends, supplies were $35,000. I believe we've kept some of that, Kim. I haven't spent that and it rolls.
Not detected.
Yeah, I'm
Working on it.
working on it, just with some training. One of the things that I really want to do in the fall is, as you guys know, we do Orton Gillingham for one of our reading programs. And there's an extension of Orton Gillingham called Wilson Reading that really targets our tier 2 and tier 3 students that I want to hit for the special ed staff. And so that is one thing that I am going to pull some out of those. I think we have to shift. I don't know. But we're talking a look at that right now. So some of our purchased service and supplies are, again, Mustang Transportation, Valley Behavioral Services, some of our unique learning system that we've utilized, and Wilson Reading Training, hopefully in the fall of 2020. Right now with that, things are up in the air with everything as far as the training goes. They've shifted some of their training because of the pandemic. So right now I'm hoping we can still keep that on the books, but that's where we are. Special education support personnel. Currently we have 344 students identified as having a disability, and that is 19.61% of the district. So we employ 27 intervention specialists, two school psychologists, 1 contractor through the ESC, speech and language pathologists, 3, 1 occupational therapist, and an assistant, 1 physical therapist, a physical therapist assistant. We have 44 paraprofessionals that are also included, but this includes classroom aides, one-on-one aides, ISS aides, bus aides, library aides, and computer aides. So that's where I am. Any questions, any concerns?
Any questions for Heather?
Is this a grant that we get? IDEA.
IDEA is the federal funding for special education.
So they only fund 500,000 of our costs.
That's what we got this year.
Yes.
This past year.
And the rest is picked up on general fund.
And I believe that fluctuates.
Grant money from year to year, depending on
Yeah,
how many
IDEA.
students are identified and stuff.
Any other questions for Heather? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Yep. Okay, we'll go to Kim. Kim has a report for us, and we will be going over that.
Okay. A couple of you had asked me to pull together some information for financial purposes, so I don't want, hopefully I don't overwhelm you, but I just wanted to get some numbers and figures and some charts out there just so everybody can see where we're standing. So my first slide, these are the numbers, and you can't see them from up there, but from the 5-year forecast that we passed for November. I am currently working on the May numbers, but for this purpose, I wanted to show you kind of where we were at in November and then moving towards the May forecast of what's taking place, especially with the pandemic going on. So the highlighted items that I wanted to show was the unrestricted state grants and the restricted state grants. So those total, like, it's in the $16 million, and I'll show you that here in a second. This graph here just shows the top line is our total state funding. The bottom line, because we have deductions that are taken from our foundation payment. So open enrollment comes out of there. We have a contract with ESC, our STRS, SERS. Those are all deductions from our total state aid. So the bottom one shows you our actual receipts that we get. So as you see, the last 3 fiscal years, we've flattened out because the state decided to go, we're keeping aid where it stands right now. So
And this does not include the cuts, correct?
that one did not.
Okay.
So I showed a forecasted amount in November of $16,261,264, which was 72.4% of all of our revenue. As I've been working on the May forecast, our actual that we were getting from the state was $16,835,302, but we got word last week that we got hit with the $240,416 reduction to our state aid. And what they're going to do is I have 3 foundation payments left for the remainder of this fiscal year. So they will take that equally out of my next 3 payments. So our total funding then, our actual would be the $16,594,886. Governor DeWine has already stated that he's not tapping into the rainy day fund for this fiscal year, that he's saving it and he's going to tap into it for fiscal year 21. But even with them tapping in, he's saying expect some reductions. So what I've been hearing from other treasurers, they're going anywhere from 5% reduction to 10% reduction. In my May forecast, I'm going to be estimating a 5% reduction. To help cover some of those expenses, we will be receiving about $510,000 through the federal CARES Act. Our total funding was like $528, and that's what you had saw last week, Colin. But Immaculate Conception gets part of that money. So our share ends up being about $510,000. So we have that money to use for any deficits for like this year and next year. As I spoke to Brian, we're probably going to just get our way through this fiscal year and then use that money to offset those for salaries, benefits, and technology for fiscal year 21.
And the downfall with that CARES Act, though, is though we're at a point now, what school will that look like for next year? Are we going to continue with remote learning? Right now we have 4 hotspots out in the community on buses. We really need to outfit more students with more Chromebooks and technology, especially at the lower levels if this continues. When we're meeting with treasurer and superintendents and they want our input back at the State Department, they're saying, well, we're living in a rural community where Wi-Fi, 5G is not prevalent. So it's tough for us. So that CARES Act, what we have moving forward into next year of the unknown, do we come back as normal? Do we come back half-time with kids, half-time not with kids? Or do we come back and just continue as we are? We're making parallel plans at the same time as far as what's it going to look like with this option and this option. And that technology money from that CARES Act is going to pay dividends for us to be able to keep educating our kids. So I just want to jump in there a little bit more.
Is the CARES Act, is that money for specific purposes? It has to be used for those specific, just like if a business got it, had to be used for.
Yes. I mean, there's
specific
12, basically 12 reasons.
Okay.
But a lot of people are basically saying that they're going to have to use it to offset their cuts for like salaries and benefits. That's what a lot of the treasurers I've heard from are planning on using it. We had talked about using it on some technology. Some treasurers were also talking about like the Wi-Fi issue. I think Sprint was one of them I heard is offering like little packs or something that you can purchase to give to specific kids. We haven't discussed that yet, if that's an option or, yeah, I see.
Well, that's the issue when we put those buses out, like at the Rush Church. They have to drive to get there because if you go around the corner, you have no cell phone reception. So that's why they were strategically placed. So if we gave that person a hotspot, it's not going to work anyway.
Right.
And so this is a pandemic is a total inconvenience for families, and it's an inconvenience as far as educating kids, as far as doing it right, like we've been so accustomed to.
So, because Verizon probably has the best coverage as far as a cellular company. Are there any ways we could buy packages for those families that don't have, or I would have to think those companies are talking about moving in a direction to provide, because I don't think with Verizon, if you use their hotspot, I don't think they do unlimited data for your home.
No.
But I bet they're moving in that direction with all this going on. So, I bet there will be something that comes out, like you said, by
Right,
packets.
yeah,
or
I think,
Sprint
yeah,
or
it's
something.
new, but I think there's talk.
Yeah.
They can give the hotspot a reduced rate, but then you charge that monthly fee, and we
Monthly
pay
fee,
that
yeah.
monthly fee
Mhm.
on top of that. So that would be another expense to us.
And can people use their own Chromebooks?
Yes, they can. Some have.
Okay, because Emma told me she could. So if we encouraged that we may not have to buy as many more Chromebooks. Because I know Emma has one and we could give it back.
Yeah.
She has her own.
That would be a benefit for not buying as many.
Yeah.
So that would work. I know that I was talking to Mrs. Burney up at Dover City, and she said that they have families up there of 3 and 4. They have one family computer, but they needed Chromebooks because all of them are on doing schooling at the same time. So they're fighting over the one family computer. So in your case, you wouldn't have to have that. You might next year because you'd have
And we
2
can even
kids.
give some kind of benefit, whether it's a little gift card or, T-shirt, whatever, if you use your own Chromebook, try to give some kind of benefits.
I know my Wi-Fi, I have Verizon, and I have their little hotspot, and it's good in the house, but the thing is, it only has 15 gigabytes to it.
Right.
And once you start using that up, then you get an alert, and then you have to pay more. And we have to, unfortunately, when our granddaughter comes, she has this big old thing that she plays games on. And if she gets on my Wi-Fi, man, that just boom.
Throws it down.
Yeah. And a lot of places you can't pick it up. And I know out at Tall Timbers, that's the worst place around to try to get a single from there, even with the Wi-Fi. But I think I don't know, Melba takes care of that, but I think it costs us like $20, $25 a month for that whole thing. But it's only 15 gigabytes.
Yes.
you know.
So, I mean, as we use this CARES Act money, I mean, that's the kind of our plan for like for this year. Let's limp through the end of the year, but we're still gonna have to use something to plan for next year and how to move forward because with us only having basically 3-4 weeks of school left, but we still have almost $250,000 in reductions.
What would be the ideal that you would want to, I mean, I know ideally every kid have a Chromebook, but what age group? I just know we're using Class Dojo for kindergarten right now with the paper booklets, which is working out nice. The teacher's putting a video on their teaching and things like that. So, which you can put that on anything, an iPad or whatever, but ideally, what, first grade through 12th?
Well, we're thinking, potentially kindergarten first and having those because if we continue with this method we are now, we've been pushing hard with videotaping a lesson and those type of things. I had a parent crying the one day. She said, I had to go buy a Chromebook. Well, we have paper copies for you, but how fair is that with everybody else who has a Chromebook and they have paper copies and they're not interacting with the teacher via that? But she says, I got to pay my utility bills. I can't afford this. So that was how we just said, here's our paper copy option. She was appreciative of that, but it worries me as far as some kids might like this home learning online too much, and there's a lot of parents that aren't liking it because they're ready to have their kids get back to school. So we're going to have to find a happy medium with some kids, with those. But originally we were talking about going clear down to kindergarten if we possibly could, just for the pure fact of if I videotape my lesson and you can go and view it and then do the work, they have that avenue to do that. So.
I have a question on that because I have a friend that's in Guernsey County, and their son's in third grade, and they don't have Chromebooks. They have a packet put together by the teachers, and the parents have to come to the school. They have to call and say, hey, I'm coming to pick up the packet. They return the packet that they had, the homework. They return it, and then they give them another packet. And they do that, and they call and make an appointment, come back and do that. Is that something that we might be able to do? Or
We're currently doing that right now with some folks that don't have internet access.
is it successful? I mean,
Well, they're just completing packets of paper. So it's successful in that aspect of things, but they're still, if I'm up and instructing Algebra 1,
Yeah.
and you're watching me do the Algebra 1 problems, and then you can watch the video, then the assignment is to then do the homework with it, and I go back and rewatch the video of it. That's better than just getting do problems 1 through 15, and then you're muddling through problems 1 through 15. And then if they're, then they can still contact the teacher and say, hey, I've done these problems, and I've watched your video twice, and I'm still struggling, and they can then call each other back and forth and email and do some intervention that way. It is harder with paper copies. I'll just say that.
I was just throw that out.
Yeah.
I know I've had a call and you've had the same call. And this person thinks that the kids need to be on the Chromebooks at least for 8 hours and get all that different teachers. And I don't believe that happens, does it?
No, and it's just like Goldilocks. When Goldilocks went in and checked out all the beds and found the one that was just right, we're trying to find the one that's just right for everybody. Some people think it needs to be a little more robust, and other people saying it's way too much. So we're trying to find that inner line of what's enough. We're also talking about, I don't know what school it was in another country, but just talking about only doing the core instruction. And if you want, at this point in time, that's a mandate by Ohio. But if Ohio said you're only getting reading, writing, math, and science and social studies, and you're not getting band, you're not getting choir, you're not getting shop class, then all that's on your own. That's a little bit different as far as educating kids, but I don't anticipate that.
Okay.
So,
I will just tell you, our experience at home is our kids feel like they're doing more work now than they were before. And teachers are responding very rapidly. We have not had any issues with teachers not answering questions or it's been a pretty good experience. I can't complain one bit about the response that we've had. And our kids feel like they are. I mean, they're spending, I wouldn't say 8 hours, but they're spending several hours a day
Yeah,
doing schoolwork.
I know, our grandkids tell us they're on there, they have to be on there at a certain time, to get their assignments and all that.
Ours
So
have been
that's
broken
good input.
down with different
That's good
subjects,
input.
different days, which has been helpful as well. So ELA, social studies one day, science, math the next. So that's not as overwhelming. It's been
Yeah.
nice.
And both of my kids said they'd rather be in school.
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, and I know we're kind of off her presentation, but
Yeah.
well, one of the things that I've said, I've reiterated with the principals, I think that those relationships that we have as teachers with our students, and that's the key to making sure that we keep that contact for their social emotional well-being and also for the intervention of, making sure they try to learn. It's not ideal, but, the kids light up whenever they see their teacher, whether it's on Facebook, doing a skit or for whatever they're doing, but that's the relationship piece of it, and online learning, without that relationships, we can't neglect that.
Okay.
So,
Okay, Kim, sorry about
That's
that.
okay. Some of the effects that we've been seeing with the pandemic, losing the 240,000, 416 over our next 3 payments to finish the fiscal year 20. Like I said, that Brian and I had discussed, we'll be looking at a 5% state aid reduction for fiscal year 21. And as of right now, that equates to another $723,200 loss. So that's why, the 510 will be nice to help replenish some of that 723, but we're still losing money there. One of the deductions, and we've talked about this before, is open enrollment. And I thought this was a tell-all type of chart here. Your black bar is your students coming in, our positive money that we receive. The red is the negative going out. And as you see, the last 3 years, it's flipped.
Is it a specific amount per student or is it different? Does it differentiate between grade levels?
No, it's the same
What is it
amount.
per student?
like
I was gonna
63,000,
say it's
6,300,
6,300.
roughly in that ballpark.
Now, if it's a special ed student, then we get caught on excess cost
If
too.
we open enrollment here, we have to pay. Well,
No,
we
no,
don't.
no, like if we're getting students in, we have excess cost for that student, then we can go back to their home district and recoup some of that money. But all of our students going elsewhere and their special ed, those districts come to us.
All they do.
Yes, so we were in a negative for excess cost also this year. So we lost some money. Yes.
Do we have a number of students?
That was one thing I meant to.
That left, I had that number. I mean, I've shared that before, but I don't know right off the top of it. I don't know, is that next slide? Did you
Well,
have that next slide?
Yeah, here's the next slide. I did a net effect on our funding. So this year, we lost $904,000. So if we want to even just look at that, so 904, 251 divided by 6,300, 143.
So with some excess cost in there, somewhere around 140 kids
Yes.
that are open and rolling out that are above and that's our net loss.
Well, that doesn't include, that's just open enrollment.
Oh,
That's not
just open
excess
enrollment.
cost.
Okay. Yeah. So, and that's after
Reduction,
the people open enrolling in.
yeah, that's our net.
That's-
We're losing, I think, 1.6 and we're gaining 700,000. So our incoming open enrollment 700,000 to the good, but we're losing 1.2 million. So in equate, that goes to $904,251. The time you take the in and out of it.
We talked on it before, I think, I don't remember what was said. Have we gotten to the heart of the reason why they're leaving?
Some of the reasons why, there was convenience factor, whether they're working
Right.
in another city and it's all on their way. Some of them is that it's their parents graduated from that other school and they want their kids to go there. So those are basically the reasons why that have come back to me and said, this is why we were leaving.
How many responses did you get on that? Do you know?
Yes, not very many. It was about 20. And we do have we do have online for school for like a Quaker Digital prior to what we're doing right now. So we were going to try to beef that up. We have 28 students that go to Quaker Digital.
And that's kind of within this chart here, the top line shows community school, so that goes to the Quaker Digital. And we had some spiky years in there, you see, but the last couple, it's kind of evened off, even declined a little bit.
So maybe reaching out to those, I mean, in the
If we could get
in the
those,
situation that we're in right now and is what we are doing currently, maybe we can recoup some of that and have teachers be able to do that instruction with those kids and be able to bring them back to our district and do it online.
that'd be my hope.
That was the hope to do it, yes. We reached out to them and tried to talk to them about coming back. We can offer that especially for our 6th through 12th grade. It'd be a little more difficult for K-5, but it's something that we could look into as far as exploring. So that was the goal.
From last year to this year, there was an additional 91 students that opened enrolled out. Based off these numbers. And then the voucher program offered us even more.
Yes.
I mean, there's probably 10, 15 kids at least that could take advantage of that voucher program.
Could there, I mean, with the pandemic, as far as the last House Bill 197 talked about those schools that were still in that voucher program, the Ed Choice, were still going to be in it. They weren't going to add more. But they were also saying if your siblings were in it, they could not in the same school, you could still take them there too. So yes, and if we had people taking advantage of that, we could be losing, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I think that we should try to estimate if we can. Do we know what kids are in our district that are going to one of those to, let's say, Central Catholic or St. Mary's Immaculate Conception?
I can get those.
I mean, maybe we ought to just put in the plan that they're going to ask for that voucher, the ones that qualify. Because why wouldn't you?
Right, especially these times.
So I think we need to plan for that. And I bet it is. I mean, just take out the people that didn't leave because of sports or they were angry or whatever. You probably have, I'm going to say at least 15 people from this area that go to St. Mary's and
We
Central
want to,
Catholic.
More.
when school's in session, I mean, physically in session, We run a bus to TCC to drop off students. So,
You're required to.
transport. Yes.
Kim?
The bottom line of this graph shows the College Credit Plus. So as you see, more students are taking advantage of that too, which is a great program, but that's why we're trying to bring some stuff here to the high school, maybe keep some of those kids here to take the online classes from here. Okay, then I just wanted to touch base on our first line is salaries for all of our employees, and then benefits. In November, that was our first time that we had heard about the student wellness dollars. So what I had done, I just took that amount from salaries straight off of there. So between salaries and benefits is what I'm using that money for. This year we got $668,000. The word is that they're not supposed to be touching that money for fiscal year 21. So fingers crossed, because we're supposed to get $975,000 next month or next year. But there again, it can only be used for specific things.
When do you find out
When?
what they're going to give you for 20?
Every day it keeps, there's different, I
I
mean,
mean, normally in a normal situation, when would you find out what your budget's going to be for the following fiscal year?
well, like that success money was budgeted within the biannual budget last year. So every 2 years when the governor said that's why we're thinking, or they're saying that hopefully that doesn't.
Not effective because it was already budgeted.
So it was
Yes.
20 and 21.
Yes,
And
And
then
then
so
it-
for fiscal year 22,
That's when it
they're
would
going
be.
to
They will-
change.
yeah, that they'll have to, when they do the state budget at that point. But like DeWine had asked all of his departments to do a decrease of like 20% across the board, but they can't hit districts at that 20%. And they've been like, even with the $240,000 reduction, they were going off of different district scenarios of what they could afford, basically. So just to give you, I'm showing that we pay 148 certified employees, which includes the teachers, counselors, speech pathologists, nurses, 97 classified, 21 administrators and central office staff. Here's our cost for benefits for insurance purposes. I got word from the Stark County Call that what they're presenting to their board in June is a 3.85% increase for medical, no increase on dental and vision, with 2 premium holidays. So those are what our costs are looking like then for next year, down at the bottom. And I did, the numbers in parentheses are how many we have currently in each one of those categories. Which I usually cut a check for about $425,000 per month for benefits. And that's not including the employee share of it that they pay.
Can you go back real quick?
Yep.
Thank you.
We talked a couple times about, we wanted to see our student teacher comparisons, how many and what's it look like over the years. So on this graph, I took it back to school year 2014-15. That's the year top. That shows how many students. So, you know, we hit kind of the highest, and then we've been declining every year since. The bottom line at the bottom is the number of teachers. So we've kind of stayed stagnant with teachers counts compared to our student enrollment. This is kind of busy graph, but I just kind of wanted, that was the student enrollment by buildings. So of course your tallest ones are your middle school and your high school. And as you see by and then the the shorter graphs are your teacher-related ones. But as you see, as we got out to this school year, actually, our middle school has a few more students than our high school does. But if you look at our teachers wise down below, we might have a few more high school teachers than middle school teachers.
And some of that's due to elective courses.
Yes.
In the middle school, they do have some electives, but there's more to meet the Carnegie units to graduate. You have to have so many fine arts and so many electives, so that does play a part into those numbers, but
Has that changed drastically over the last 3 to 5 years?
the Carnegie units, no. But as we talked, maybe, the one, I don't know which country it is that only teaches the core subjects and everything else is, the band and stuff is on your own, music lessons and dance and stuff like that. If you only taught those core subjects, it definitely would make a different impact. But, you still want well-rounded kids.
And of course, this is a small one you can't see, but this is our balances. And I guess that's where, the most important part of the 5-year forecast is when we look at our cash balance at the end of the year, we want to be in the positives, and it's hasn't been that way. I mean, we've been deficit spending. I think we're in the 3rd year in a row now of deficit spending. So we're tapping into any type of savings we have. And like for my November one, I predicted $316,000 as a loss. As I'm working on my May, I think right now I'm over 500,000.
On your May, what fiscal year do we go negative with our cash balance?
Also in the 3rd year,
3rd year.
2 years out, so fiscal year 2022. So, I mean, next year we're looking at it, according to the November one, 1.4 million. This isn't taking into the account our state aid reductions. So that's what I'm working on.
And you'll get a notice from the auditor again that you have to bring that back in line.
Yep,
So we might as well be working on that.
yes.
If you have.
That's what.
You don't have a choice.
That's exactly what I was, because cash balance, yeah, I was by fiscal year 2022, this was showing a negative $85,000. I mean, that's all of our cash. I mean, and you're exactly right. The state will come in at that point. I had to already submit how are we going to get that to a positive? So.
Which, in some of that, we did have a teacher resign mid-year.
Yeah.
And we didn't replace there. So that kind of helped get out of the fiscal watch or just by submitting that letter. So that was enough there to make those changes. This pandemic that we're in, I mean, it's hurting a lot of people with work or not working. It's hurting the schools because we've really cut back on how much time people report, but we've still been paying their full salaries. We finished the seasons for spring sports without even playing a game. We still paid full salaries. So those are things that we've done to try to help our employees along the way. But when you look at the numbers here where we are in the future, that doesn't help. Today it helps them, but we need their help as far as, we're lucky that we got the levy that we just passed, that keeps us with the current money that we have. That's not more money. Some will forget that. That's not more money, just enough.
We'll see just a little increase because the emergency levy was collecting 2.3 mils.
Yeah.
So
we went
and we went to 3 for a general fund. So I calculated that by fiscal year 21, we'll receive half of that. which would be like a $70,000 increase. And then the full year we'll get by 2022, which would be like 140,000. But in comparison to,
Is there still something we'll double like one half a year,
next year, because that bond,
the bond?
the last bond payment won't be until December of 2021. But we're hoping that we've got that, we're hoping that we collected enough in advance. We kept that at the 2.0 this year to next year we will see a bigger decrease of that.
Any others?
And that's all.
Well, that was a very, very informative and very good presentation.
If I didn't
I mean,
bombard you
we
with too
couldn't have
much.
asked- We couldn't have asked for a better presentation, I don't think. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Outstanding, yeah, very good.
So as far as the, I mean, kind of anxiety when you're looking at those numbers, but I mean, you know, we have some difficult times, I think. I don't remember, Mr. Miles, what you said earlier about preparing and repairing, your quote earlier.
Yeah, I shared, we've been talking a lot of outside here, just the leadership stuff, just if we're not preparing today, you're gonna repair tomorrow. And unfortunately, we're just in that time where some things weren't done then, and so we gotta regroup, you know, put a good plan together, you know, be transparent and lay it out there, and we won't have to keep repairing.
You can't repair what you don't know needs repaired. And that's the first time we've, I mean, honestly seen what needs repaired.
Right. And we've asked for that
So
many times in the past, so,
Well,
but we can't go backwards, so now we gotta move forward, so.
So, I mean, we got some difficult decisions to make in front of us, and, you know, when we look at whether we look at layoffs, reductions of staff, whether we look at in the future the potential of closing buildings down to consolidate down to help us, but we have some of those. We've also taken a look at our transportation. How can we not better expedite that, but look, how can we trim there to help our budget? So, you know, we have some things we need to be taking a look at, and timing couldn't be more horrible than right now regarding where we are as an economy. But we're not the only school in this boat. We're not the only business in this boat. So I just looking at where we need to go. Our finance committee has been meeting, and we've talked about possible some reductions, and, you know, we talked about looking some other things. So how quickly or when we go forward with those is kind of our discussion.
I'd like to go on record there, Kim, thanking the finance committee and Mr. Wrench and yourself for putting this together for us and enlightening us on the 5-year forecast. Job well done.
that's all Kim. Kim and Mr. Rack, both of them, they both really did.
You have anything else before we go?
Well, I can go through, I just want a presentation, kind of give you updates on a couple different things, just reminders. Kindergarten registration is online. So any incoming kindergartner, if that student has turned 5 before August 1st, or as of August 1st, they register online, and they will go to the web portal to enroll their student. We can't do face-to-face screening this year. Mr. Seibert and I were talking about whether we did it like in August, and we're not sure where we're going to be with August either. So we went with an online kindergarten screening for this year. And then maybe next year, when we get in physically back in the buildings, then we'll just kind of redivide kids up and to how we need to within the first 9 weeks, but looking at those. We talked about assignments and for homework. Looking for my paper on that one. The last assignments will be posted May 22nd, and the students will have till May 29th to complete their assignments. So that gives them a week to work on those last assignments. June 1st through the 4th, then we start collecting our Chromebooks back. And those would be by building and by alphabet. So Monday, the 1st of June, A through H. June 2nd, I through P. The 3rd, Q through W. And the Thursday would be anybody that missed those dates. I know, and I'll talk about seniors here in a minute, but seniors have another date where they can get some things to that. But those are for all our buildings, but our seniors. This was, and it can be posted again, so yes. And there was one other thing I was going to finish off, the senior recognition. I'll talk about that. So as you know, we have a Saturday, we'll do an in-person graduation from like 9 o'clock to 6 or 7 in the evening, where 5 adults can come with 1 student and watch graduation, walk across the stage, be videotaped, get their pictures. They will get a picture complimentary of the high school in the district. So an 8 by 10, I believe, right? I think, yeah. 8 by 10. And then we'll do on Saturday, then the following Tuesday from like 1 to 5 for those that they couldn't fit in. We have 138 seniors that are graduating. So we'll broadcast the ceremony June 2nd or June 7th at 2 p.m. Just like graduation would have been held if we were in the gymnasium. But we'll have valedictorian speeches, salutatorian speeches. Mrs. Campbell has a special guest for us to be a guest speaker. She won't say who it is, but she does have a guest speaker she's lined up for us. We'll have everything that we have within a regular graduation ceremony, but our in-person will be going across the stage. But I want to thank Mrs. Kahn for putting it together, and especially Jacob Baldwin, because he will be the one who's cutting all this video together, so it'll be ready to go. And it will be broadcast on our Facebook, so the Claymont Schools Facebook page. Senior recognition ceremony will be Thursday the 21st at 6 p.m. And that will also be broadcast via Facebook. And then I just want to touch base on the last thing, diploma and video pickup and laptop drop-off will be Monday, June 8th for seniors. So they'll be able to pick up their actual diploma and turn back in all their stuff. And that'll be kind of like a drive-by drop-off. And so that they pull up, they'll drop their stuff off and grab their diploma. I know June 8th. And that's from 11 to 1. And also they paying their fees and things that go. I would just say this, Ian Miser, senior class advisor, Ms. Kahn, myself, and also the senior class officers met to talk about making a plan for graduation. We had a lot of outside influences on what it should look like or how it should look like. We have ODE guidance on what we can do and what we can't do. So this is probably a best of our intermix of both. So an in-person graduation and a ceremony. So I just want to touch base with that, just to kind of let you know.
Everybody, unprecedented times, but it's a situation that we have. Thanks for
Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session for number 2, employment, or discipline, and letter E, matters required to be kept confidential by federal law and regulation. So I'd like to obtain a motion to go into executive session. Kenny? Do we have a second? Colin, motion made. Trimmer, second by Fawcett. Roll call.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mrs. Sproul?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Time 6:25.
Can we tell how many people are watching this?
I can go ask Jacob.
I just hope, I would hope there was some people that saw that presentation.
Okay. I call the Claymont Board of Education meeting back in order, 8:18. Okay, do we have any addendum for the superintendent there?
Yes, we do. We have item number 7 to be added to the agenda, item number 8. And a correction under the treasurer's items for letter D. I think you had, it's Ralph and Betty Price for those. So
Okay, I entertain a motion to accept 7, 8 and the correction. Kenny, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Mrs. Sproul? Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Sproul?
Yes.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Any items, we don't have anything to pull, do we?
I don't think so.
Okay. We'll move to the treasurer's report.
I need a motion and a second to approve the financial reports for the month of April, the payment of bills as presented, the minutes to the regular board meeting of April 13th, the acceptance of the donation we received from Ralph and Betty Price for student lunches, and the purchase of the international school bus with a price of $88,507 from Rush Bus Centers of Ohio. And that is the total amount of the bus. And remember, we got the $65,000 grant from the ODE to go towards that.
Did that go out for bid?
Through the Omarisa,
That's how we came up with this company.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Fawcett, do we have a second? Mr. Turner? Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer? Mr. Beckley?
Yeah.
Mrs. Sproul?
Yeah.
Mr. Miles?
Motion carried. Superintendent's recommendation?
this would be the second and final reading for the board policies of 1.0, 2, 2.4, 2.04, 4.05, 6.1, 6.14, 6.15, 6.42, 7.35, and 9.02. At the last board meeting, we talked about having first reading regarding some of those. Under the appointment of treasurer and superintendent, basically, just reiterate on that we've had the same fringe benefits as the staff do. Graduation requirements under 6.14, just to want to touch on that one. We added in that graduation requirements, adding FFA. Each year you take a science class for FFA, it counts as a quarter credit. So you take 4 years of FFA, you could get 1 credit in science for taking FFA. So those were our second final readings for those board policies. Approve the job description for computer/LRC aide as that was presented. Improve the agreement with Stark County Educational Service Center for the Title III federal grant. We're in a consortium with them for the English learners consortium. Approve Ohio Revised Code for all districts to administer paper test for 3rd grade assessment. So the 3rd grade test, we would have given it, we gave it in the fall as paper pencil. We need a board resolution each year to give the 3rd grade test in paper pencil versus computer. We're entering into agreement with Omarisa for management services. I'd like to really approve the 2020 graduating class, and that list is there for you versus me going through all those names. Really proud of those kids as far as through a tough time that we've had this year. Accept the resignation of Mary Cardani as custodian at the primary effective today, May 11th. And improve the number 8, approve the technology, computer network, and internet usage acceptance policy for next school year.
Okay, entertain a motion to accept the superintendent's report.
I'll move.
Okay, Mrs. Sproul, we have a second? Mr. Mel, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Sproul?
Yes.
Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mr. Beckley?
Yeah.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes. Motion carried. New business.
Under new business, we've been in executive session and we've had a presentation from Mrs. Beckley regarding our finances. So upon reviewing the state budget reductions for this school year and with expected state budget reductions for next year, we've been able to identify approximately about 800,000 in reductions that can be enacted for next school year. We are facing a $1.6 million deficit, which affects our daily operations. And we are in order to remain solvent, we need to seek these reductions. So again, we're looking at approximately about $800,000 in reductions that would be enacted for next school year.
Okay. Entertain a motion that we give the superintendent permission to move forward. I will make that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Fawcett, any discussions? Roll call.
Mr. Beckley?
Yeah.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes.
Mrs. Sproul? Mr. Miles?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes. Okay, a motion to, if there's no other further business for the Board of
We
Education.
said, while we're all sitting here, next board meeting in May,
Sure.
because we had a need for 2 board meetings in May, but because we need to pass the 5-year forecast before the May,
Have to submit it before May 31st.
okay.
Okay. You got some dates there?
What do you need toward the end of the month, like the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th? What do you need as far as timeline to get your,
I would say 26th, 27th, if possible. Or the end of the week, end of next week, whichever.
I would prefer to wait to that week of Memorial Day. So that, with our planned reductions of approximately 800,000, that would help your plan your 5-year forecast. So
Yes,
that gives us some time to work through that.
right.
So I would say Wednesday, the 27th might be an appropriate evening.
27.
May 27th, 5:30. And under the current situation we're still in, it'll still be here at the high school.
Okay, so before we adjourn, our next meeting will be Wednesday, the 27th. That would be May at 5:30. And that's just for the reason of the 5-year forecast.
That we will act on contracts at the end of the year, and we'll be acting on the reductions in force for our $800,000 deficit that or reductions that we're looking at.
Okay,
We have to non-renew supplementals for this school year, so that would be another item on the agenda that we would have. So it would be kind of pretty a full agenda.
okay. So the next meeting will be May 27th at 5:30 at the high school. Okay. Any other further business for the betterment of the district? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Kenny second. Mrs. Sproul first. Roll call.
Mrs. Sproul? Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Beckley?
Yes.
Mr. Fawcett?
Yes.
And Mr. Miles?
Motion passed. Time is 8:28. I thank you to everyone.